Yo, what's going on, Geek Corner? This is your boy Earth Mac, the Mad Scientist, and this is the Orange Phoenix Show, Pro Wrestling Talk Live, where we talk about all things pro wrestling, whether it's All Elite Wrestling, WWE, or NXT, or Ring of Honor. We talk about your latest and greatest in pro wrestling news. Shout out to the infamous Alvin Staley in his absence. He's unable to make it tonight, but guess what? In this Pro Wrestling Power Hour, we're going to definitely talk about the most recent news that's out when it comes to AEW, NXT, and I will make my WWE Bad Blood predictions because Bad Blood is this weekend. I hope you guys are doing exceptionally well. Just like this ticker below, hit that like and subscribe button because you come here and you view and you're enjoying the show. Go ahead and hit that like button because guess what? The more likes we get, the more this video circulates and you get more like-minded people like yourself. Now, we do have a Discord in our description below. Go ahead and hit that link. It's free 99 and it has all multiple channels for multiple interests in geekdom. It don't just have to be pro wrestling. It got comic books, anime, manga, movies, television shows. That is what our Discord server is for. It is a safe space for us to have these healthy conversations because sometimes conversations get a little toxic sometimes in the geekdom and nerd world when it comes to pretty much anything in geekdom, especially pro wrestling when it comes to tribalism. We have said it ad nauseum, but I'm not here to talk about tribalism today. Just like the thumbnail said, AEW finally gets it done. It finally gets the deal done because we always get that alleged. I've done several shows in the past, and I always be careful with what I say. We're saying how allegedly this is the deal they have with Max. We don't know the details of it. More details will come out about this momentarily. And stuff has been confirmed. And on the day of all days, this is the 5th anniversary of AEW Dynamite. So it's been 5 years that AEW has been in circulation on television, on network. So at this 5-year anniversary, they announced some news. So how about we get into some news right now? So we're going to discuss this. As of October 2nd, Warner Brothers Discovery and All Elite Wrestling today announced a multi-year renewal of their highly successful 5-year relationship with an expansive multi-platform media rights agreement that will provide fans with the widest available access ever to AEW's most popular programming. It goes on to state that WBD networks and platforms will remain the exclusive home of AEW Dynamite on Wednesdays on TBS and AEW Collision on Saturdays on TNT with enhanced distribution rights across social platforms as well as building opportunities for additional AEW program. Now, it says, in addition, for the first time, all AEW Dynamite and AEW Collision programming starting January 2025 will stream live exclusively on Max for U.S. subscribers only. And all AEW programming airing on WBD networks will also be available to stream on demand on Max. Also, AEW and WBD will also collaborate to distribute AEW live pay-per-view events on Max at a discounted price per event, with all marketing and promotions of those pay-per-views events exclusively centered on Max. And AEW pay-per-view distribution on Max will begin later in 2025. and with additional information and pricing to be shared in the coming months. So, like, looking at this situation here, this is a great deal by All Elite Wrestling. We kind of got an idea that HBO Max had a part to play in this deal, because Warner Brothers Discovery, and when it comes to Warner Brothers Discovery, you have HBO Max, right? And for AEW not to be on HBO Max, especially with WWE going to Netflix, okay, now you tackling both sides of the spectrum here. Now you have television and you have live streaming on Max. So if you do not have cable, guess what? You got HBO Max. And I know for a fact that HBO Max will be advertising this heavily on Wednesdays and on Saturdays for more people to go look at it. So what does that mean for viewership numbers, especially if it's simulcasted from one to the other? So in this situation, I mean, viewership numbers when it comes to cable would have much of a weight. And I mean, let's face it, in the past, it didn't have much of a weight anyway. It just was a talking point for people that was covering pro wrestling. Like, oh, well, they only have 470,000 viewers, or the viewership has decreased. But it wasn't really that big of a deal like it was back in the day. Like back in the day, we had no streaming services whatsoever. We had no Netflix. We had no Max. We had no Hulu, Amazon Prime, none of that. We had straight cable. If you missed a show, you missed a show. Like, you had to be there. So it was one of those things where having a show on a Saturday was just bad because everybody's out and about. But this is a very big deal for AEW as a whole. And the question still remains, what is going on with Ring of Honor? Like, will Ring of Honor get a TV deal? Like, it's going to be on TV? Because the way I see it, only the most hardcore wrestling fan watches Ring of Honor. And it's not for the casual viewer, right? And it's on a Ring of Honor streaming app. But not everybody got a Ring of Honor streaming app. And nobody's going to go out their way to get Ring of Honor. And they're missing out on some great content, especially with Athena, and I'm super high on Athena, but I do feel like in the midst of this deal, they should have Ring of Honor on television to some capacity. And let's not forget AEW Shockwave. There is a new show called Shockwave. What does that mean for AEW Rampage? Is Rampage going to do away? Is it going to be tossed to the wayside and Shockwave is going to take over? We don't know. Either way it goes, I think when it comes to the demographic for AEW, they sticking to their guns where it's to a certain type of audience. It is an alternative. And there have been critics, and I've been one of them, saying, hey, we need more long form content. We need more long form storytelling. And yes, I do love the wrestling, but at the same time, you do burn on both ends when it comes to certain things, but the in-ring action tells the story, and that's their way of telling stories. There's no one way to tell a story in the middle of the ring. The other critique is the audience, right? The physical audience that's in the building. The attendance numbers, right? The attendance numbers have decreased when it came down to AEW. And will this increase the viewership numbers? And I'm going to get into some NXT as well, because I have their viewership numbers as well. What are they going to do to increase the viewership numbers? I mean, we got a long-term story right now with Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson, and there's a lot of speculation on Shane McMahon probably making an appearance at AEW and him being involved to some capacity. It don't necessarily have to be in ring. A lot of people saying, it's going to be some in-ring stuff because he's crazy. Him versus Darby Allin will cook because they will do everything and anything to each other. That's cool. That's cool. But I think with the knowledge that Shane McMahon has over the years, the decades that he's been under the WWE umbrella, under his dad and everything else, he definitely knows what sells and what don't. I'm not saying take everything that he says, but if he's on TV or he's like a TV personality, or he's working behind the scenes, or there's some kind of deal being made, then yes, by all means, grab him on. Now, I mean, he's not a plant. I wouldn't even go that route to say he's a plant. But again, this is a very big deal for AEW. And man, I don't know the numbers because the numbers wasn't put out there, but the deal, or far the details of it, has been put out there. And Tony Khan, for what I understand, I'm not sure he's opening the show, but he's making some type of announcement for the 5-year anniversary for Dynamite. So it might be some more good news down the turnpike. If you remember when AEW first showed up on television, it was a groundswell. You understand? Like, there was a breath of fresh air. And Bully Ray was right. I mean, it's like, listen, this is a honeymoon phase. This is a fresh new toy to play with. But you have to keep the interest. But every wrestling company goes through ebbs and flows. They have a low point. They have a midpoint. They have a high point where they're cooking on all cylinders. And every wrestling company reaches it. And it's up to you to figure out what you're going to do outside of that. But as far as WBD, Warner Brothers Discovery, they're satisfied. I mean, they're number one trending on Wednesday nights. They're number one in cable on that certain night. And I know Saturday night's Collision took a little bit of a hit since, Punk leaving. But I feel like Collision will have its resurgence. So I would say stay positive in this light. If you enjoyed the product, most of all, if you enjoy the product, then keep watching the product. Like, you're not getting paid to look at these numbers and say, oh, these numbers are trash. It's got, these numbers are decreasing and blah, 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 blah. What can they do? That's not our job to make. That's Tony Khan's job. So hopefully one day I will have Tony Khan on this show and we have a conversation on what his goals are. But going into some NXT, man. NXT was popping hot on all cylinders because they made its debut on the CW network. And I mean, to be completely honest with you, I know that it was going to pop a rating. I know it's going to do that because of how it's been advertised. It was going to be in Chicago. And CM Punk's going to be there. Obviously, that's going to push sales. That's going to push tickets. But let's get down to the nitty gritty on the viewership numbers for NXT. So when it comes down to NXT, the CW network delivers the largest audience for WWE NXT since October 2023. NXT CW debut on broadcast television drew 895,000 total viewers, plus 44% over last week's episode on cable. Premiere was strongest programming on CW this year among, 18 adults age 18 through 49 and adults 25 to 54. And total viewers up more than 100% for CW affiliates in New York, Los Angeles, Dallas, and Detroit. So 895,000. That's a lot. That's a lot. That is a lot. Anytime that you make a big move, especially in wrestling, and it's been proven time and time again by WWE, if you're moving from one network to the other, make a big deal out of it. Look what they did. Like when they moved SmackDown to Fox, they advertised this thing as like one of the biggest shows on TV. It just pushed you to watch that first episode of SmackDown on Fox, right? They made it sound like it was a big fight field. They made it look like it was like a UFC type of fight type of situation. They advertised The Undertaker. They advertised Brock Lesnar. They advertised Charlotte Flair. They did a heavy advertise. For a veteran fan of WWE, you've been through this already. You kind of know how these matches are going to flow. You think a title's going to change. Not quite. It's too late. They already got the number from you for viewership. So you're already there. You might as well finish the show. And it wasn't the best of shows. I mean, Kofi Kingston lost in less than 10 seconds. against Brock Lesnar like that. And the Undertaker was advertised for the show. Didn't even show up. Wasn't even there. So you already invested in watching the show. So you're like, you're already there. And this is no different. They moved NXT from USA Network. They moved it over to the CW Network, and they made a very big deal out of it. And it is the marketing and the public relations part of it. That is what's going to sell those tickets. It's going to CW Network, which is basically, it's not TNT. It's not like regular cable. It's like regular television. You know what I mean? It's just network television. It's crazy. So you want to make the biggest splash possible when you move into a new network. And in order for you to do that, you get the likes of CM Punk. You get the venue in Chicago. And if you got this arena type area and you're no longer in this small arena that have like maybe 300, 400 people in it, and now you got a few thousand people in an arena, then you might need a big name to sell those tickets for people can sit down and watch NXT. Now, the following week, you got Randy Orton showing up, right? So, and Randy Orton is in a match in NXT. Now, Randy Orton's going to win. Of course he's going to win. It is what it is. But people are going to buy a ticket to see Randy Orton. And now, when it's on TV, and you look at this crowd of people, and the lights is on them, you see this sea of people out there watching this. So the average viewer that's watching NXT, that probably never watched NXT a day in their life, and look at this, and oh man, this is a big deal because you got so many people watching this show. So, very good advertising by WWE. Now, would these main roster people be on NXT every week? I seriously doubt it. But they needed that hot jumping point to get people vested. And now since I'm vested, I'm going to look at this NXT talent and see what they are capable of doing and see how these stories progress. You did have a title change. Trick Williams is the NXT World Champion once again. Julia loses her first match on NXT. Now, there's been some controversy. I can't even say controversy, but there's been some backlash when it comes to Julia losing because Julia was made out to be a big deal. Like, she came from Japan. She has a strong style. Like, you know, most American wrestlers can't see her, or unless you like the real high caliber people that's gonna like go blow for blow with you. And then she comes up with the loss. And some people are upset about that. I'm not upset about Julia losing because it took interference for it to happen. And this is the start of a story. So some people just upset because, oh, you advertise Julia so much, how much she's a badass and how she can't be beat and how she inflicts pain on other performers, only to see her lose her match against Roxanne, Perez. I'm not mad at that because now there's a story here. Now you got Valkyria still in the wins, and what's going to happen with Julia and now, Cora Jade and all that other stuff. So you got a story now. You got people vested in this situation now. So those were the two main points. Eventually, this is a hot number. 895,000 people watching NXT last night. Very, very good number. I would not be surprised that they'll break 1 million at some point. And that would be a subject of conversation, because once they break 1 million, which I personally think they will hit that 1 million spot at some point. Now, will it take the main roster talent to get to that 1 million spot? Signs will point to yes. The reason I'm saying that is anytime they pop a hot rating on NXT, there's a main roster performer there. And that bothers me a little bit because when it was NXT Black and Gold, they didn't need main roster talent. It was them and them only. Like, people bought a ticket to see NXT. I didn't come to see the main roster, but it's working its way to that point, and I see 1 million viewer rating in this point. And that's going to be another conversation for another day, because now you're going to look at NXT as like, okay, well, AEW, what you going to do? Like, how you going to pull up a number? Like, can you pull a milli? Like, they pull a milli? Like, can you do that? So it's like back in your court in that situation. But as far as NXT is concerned, like, it did a very good show. It's going to be another hot show next week. And then I would say maybe the fourth week or so, it's going to level off and it's going to be just the NXT talent. And depending on that talent, to carry the show forward and to put butts in seats. But very good crowd nonetheless. Viewership numbers were phenomenal. And can't even hate on it. Nobody can hate on those numbers, man. Hey, WWE is very good at marketing and publicity. And it's on the CW network. So you got preteens and all that stuff watching this. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. So next thing we got, last thing we got here is Bad Blood predictions. All you know that WWE Bad Blood is this weekend coming. We got some blood feuds along the way. And I got some shared predictions on who's going to win their respective matches. So let's get into some WWE Bad Blood. So obviously, I feel like Drew McIntyre and CM Punk should be the main event because of the ongoing storyline. I believe that CM Punk will win this match. And you got the old Hell in a Cell color back. Thank God the red cell is no longer present. But if there's going to be a Hell in a Cell match, I will tell you, there's need to be blood. It has to be blood. Like, it is no other way to slice this thing. If there's no blood in this Hell in a Cell match, then it becomes very underwhelming because these individuals hate each other. Absolutely hate each other. And you got to let that hate show itself on screen to the viewer. You have to have blood in this match. Go back to the old school. Go back to like the first few Hell in a Cells were with Triple H and Mick Foley, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and Undertaker. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to go back to the old school. Go back to the old school where it used to be. Bring some blood back to these cage matches and leave it at that. So the next matchup is Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns versus the Timu bloodline of Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. This has potential to be the main event as well. But I mean, with the story between Cody and Roman, I fully understand what's going on with that. I say the bloodline gets this dub. I say the bloodline actually wins at Bad Blood, man, because now at this point, if they win, that furthers the storyline a little bit. Like, what the rift that is between Cody and Roman for obvious reasons, because Cody been feuding with Roman for 2 years and he finally get the dub over Roman Reigns. Or Cody may turn, a lot of people speculating Cody may turn heel, not at this pay-per-view, but maybe a Homelander-esque type of deal. So we will see. But I think the bloodline is going to get this dub. Women's World Championship match between Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. I think. Ooh, this is a tough one. This is a tough one here. Ooh. What do you do with this? Liv Morgan as a champ versus Rhea Ripley. I think Liv Morgan retains. I think Liv Morgan retains. And I mean, it further progresses things, and we'll see what happens from there. But that's my bold prediction. I think Liv Morgan is going to retain. Damian Priest and Finn Balor. Damian Priest. I think Damian Priest is going to... Whoa. Yeah, I think Damian Priest. I think one's going to win, one's not going to win. I think Rhea's going to be the one not going to win. The next one up is WWE Women's Championship match between Nia Jax and Bayley. Bayley defeated Naomi for the number one contenders match. Nia Jax all the way. I think she's going to win. Or there will be a Money in the Bank cash in. And there's been some teasing, right? There's, Nia Jax put her hands on Tiffany Stratton, and she was like, listen, we good now. We good. But why you threaten somebody that got a Money in the Bank briefcase? Like, she can easily cash in and keep it moving. Well, we'll see what happens. But Nia Jax is my pick. She will retain. I don't think there was going to be a Money in the Bank cash in. I think there's going to be a tease of it, but I don't think there's going to be an actual cash in. So Nia Jax still holds that belt. And it's going to depict more of Nia Jax bullying Tiffany Stratton to build that storyline up a little bit. Last but not least, which I think this may start off the show, the World Heavyweight Championship between Gunther and Sami Zayn. Zayn was the man that dethroned Gunther for the Intercontinental title, and it only makes sense that he sees him for the World Heavyweight Championship, because the reason for the Intercontinental Championship, that is your ticket to go challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship eventually, because you are to show your stripes at the end of the day. So my thought process on this is that Gunther is going to retain. Gunther's going to retain, and that's how we're going to go with that. Yeah, Gunther's going to retain the World Heavyweight Championship, because, I mean, come on. Gunther, he's fresh. He's a fresh World Heavyweight Champion. I'm going to just say like that. So he's going to hold that championship belt probably until WrestleMania, until after WrestleMania, because he's going to hold that belt just like he held the Intercontinental title. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Sami Zayn takes this L. Is what it is. Leave it at that. And actually, this pay-per-view is a pretty short pay-per-view, because you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You only have 6 matches here, so it's not going to be an all-nighter. But go ahead and check out Bad Blood, and let's see. We're going to come back next week and see where was I right on these predictions. We will see. Tonight is AEW Dynamite. Go ahead and check out AEW Dynamite. And also a little bit of advice. Y'all stay safe out there, especially for the individuals that's on the East Coast. I know you're dealing with damages from Hurricane Helene. And keep safe, man. Help is on the way. I know guys are getting help. There's donations and everything else that's out there. My prayers are with you guys. And we will see you guys tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We got some Geekdom talk tomorrow. So until next time, y'all, peace.